Hello guys, my name is Dmitry and this is the second video about GraphQL engine called Hasura, and in this video we will build a very simple Angular app where we will see how to implement very basic queries and mutations to our GraphQL Hasura engine. Don't go away, we are getting started. Alright, you can see here our project from previous video, and there is our database data and Docker Compose YAML. The one thing I will change, I'm going to change here the port because my 8080 port currently is occupied by another Docker container, so I will change to 8081 and I will go one level down and create my Angular app using ngCli with the new command, and I'm using this -f flag to force the creation because I already have the Hasura tutorial folder. And now I go back to my Hasura tutorial, and I have to add the very first modules which I need. It's Angular Material. Here it's asks me if I want to send some data. No. And I want to pick Indigo Peak theme, and I don't need the typography, and I want to have animations. Okay, that's updated all required files, so it's using schematics, and it's was set up automatically for me. And now I have to add Apollo Angular library. This library will help me to do the GraphQL queries to my server. It's actually compatible with any GraphQL engine. It's not necessary to be Hasura or whatever, but it's just for client, just for Angular app. And it also using the generics, so it generated for me all necessary files. And let's go inside the app folder, and we see that was created GraphQL module TS for me, and it's predefined everything. And there is one thing I have to add, that's URI, and where I can grab my URI address. Actually, I have to start my Hasura Engine, and there I will grab my endpoint. Right, so I navigate to localhost 8081, and you can see here in the GraphQL endpoint field, I have to copy this, and this is gonna be my GraphQL endpoint. So I paste it here, and I think I'm pretty much done with setup. I will start my Angular app just to see if it works fine. So let's go to the browser and navigate to localhost 4200, and yeah, you see my application which I just created. That's great. Then go to app component TS file, and we will build a very first query for this. And I will start with defining the property called tasks, which is observable and going to be the array of tasks. And I will create the interface which describes my tasks. And for now, I will leave it empty. We will add values later on. And the second thing, we have to inject actually our Apollo service, and I will do this through the dependency injection. So I have to write here private Apollo, and this is Apollo, which comes from Apollo Angular. All right. So far so good. Then what we have to do is actually implement on init lifecycle hook, and in this lifecycle hook I want to do the next thing. So I remove this throw error, and I will write as these tasks observable. I will assign to this Apollo, and Apollo has actually such a method called watch query. and I will call exactly this method, and this method accepts the object with configuration. One of them is query, and here we have to create some like get task query, and the way how we're doing this is the next. We define some constant, let be constant get tasks, and there we'll use the GQL tag for GraphQL queries, and I have to import this from a library called GraphQL tag. All right. And between these quotes, I will write my actually query. And let's go to our GraphQL and build this right here. So I'll clean up this everything. And here in the task, I say that I want to fetch ID, title, description, and what else? Okay, let's fetch the user as well. So full name and ID. And I can press this button and we see that query is working fine. So I copy this and I will pass this into my GQL tag. And now we define the query. That's enough. That's everything what we should add. And then we have such a property called value changes, and this is observable, which we can listen. And yeah, for now, to have the proper IntelliSense hints from VS Code, we have to define the interface which describe our data which we get from the Hasura. Okay, so for now there will be next values like UID, it will be string, title string, description string, and for the user let's implement another interface. There will be UID, of course it's a string, and the next is how we call it, display value. I think, yeah, it should be display value, sorry, display name, which is also string. And now I copy the user and add this to our task interface. So user. Okay, so let's move on. The next thing we have to do is, I forgot, we have to implement interface for response itself. Right, so here I will do next interface response, and inside the response will be key tasks, and tasks because we call this on the line 22 we have the tasks, so it should be the same actually value, so that's why we also define this as a tasks, and it's gonna be array of task. All right, so I copy this response, and to have it properly typed I have to add this type here in our watch query. So it should be properly typed, but we have still some errors. Why it doesn't like my observable? It says that missing properties maps filter reduce. Something strange actually. Should not. Of course, because this observable comes from Apollo link. Definitely that's not what we want to have. I want to have it from RxJS. Okay, now it should be better. Okay, yeah, on this part TypeScript doesn't complete, but yeah, there we have to use map operator, and inside the map we have the result. That's what we get from the backend, right? And result has the data, and why IntelliSense doesn't work? Okay, we have to import this map from RxJS. RxJS operators. Yeah, So far so good. All right, and now I think I have to get some, I have these hints from the IntelliJ, sorry, from VS Code. And I can, grab the data and tasks, and now I have to copy my property tasks. I will remove everything from what app component, what was generated for me. With ng4, I will iterate the lead tag and just print the title of the task. All right. So here I add the title, and let's see how it works. Let's go to our app. You can see that our list of our tasks is there. That's great. But let's add some stylings to our application, so to have the nice look and feel. And you can actually use the time code I defined in the video description, so you can skip this part if you are not interested in HTML, CSS stuff and so on. You can skip it, and there will be time code where you can jump directly to the mutations, because we will be doing also mutation and add the new task. Okay, but if you want to see how to implement this, okay, so we go to app module and we will add unnecessary modules. I'll use some material components. This is the cards, inputs, and buttons with the form fields and reactive forms. I'll add these modules, and now I just remove my list here. I will just define some main tag where it's our main content is gonna be, and there will be some h1, which is some page title, and there will be section with the class list. There will be the list of our to-dos, or not to-dos but tasks. And I will use the mat card for this, and for this mat card I will add the card class, and I will use ng4 as well here to render all cards. And inside the mat card I will use the mat card header, and this header has mat card title, and in the title there will be our task title. All right, and what next? Then we will add probably also mat card content, and here in the content I will define some paragraph. I don't know, let's do paragraph, and inside this paragraph I will print out just description. All right, so let's save and have a look. Okay, cards are here, and we need some more stylings, so let's add this. So for content I will just add some maybe padding, which gonna be 1 rem, and I'll do box sizing, and then for card will be also margin 1 rem, and for list it will be display flags, and I want to wrap it, so yeah, it looks better. So far that's it, I think, with the styles. Let's go to template and add some form, because we need to implement some form to add the new task. For this I will have the form, and this form will have the mat form field. There will be actually 2 of them. So first will be the input, and the second will be the text area for description. And okay, let's add the input for this. It's gonna be type text. Let's add some placeholder like enter title, and it should be mat input, so we add this directive there. And pretty much similar thing for the second mat form field. It's gonna be text area with the placeholder and description, and so creative today. And it's gonna be also mat input. Something else. Yeah, looks good. Now we have to add some button, and that's gonna be mat stroked button, and I will add some text here. All right, should be fine. And yeah, I have to add also display block for my form fields because I want to have them like, not in their one row, but the column view. Okay, let's go back to app component and build actually our form. We have to inject our form builder into our app component, and here in ng on init I will assign to the form the result of our form builder. It's gonna be the group, and in group we have to define the form controls, and the first will be the title, which is empty string by default, and it's gonna be required. Then I will do the same for also for description and for author ID. Yep, and there's will be defined value. So far we will just hard code the value. We will do this dynamic later on, but for now I will copy this user ID and paste it here. There will be another video about authentication with Hasura, and then we will implement Firebase authentication. Yep, and then we will do this dynamically. But so far it will be hard coded. And in our template, we have to define that our form is going to be the form group, and we also have to map our form controls from the TS file with the template. And to do this, I will use the form control name directive and say that this is gonna be the title, and my text area it's description. All right, so I'm saving this and let's go to our file. Okay, everything works except the button. Let's check why button is not working. Because there's a typo. It should be without C, and now it's fine, but it's active despite the form is invalid, right? Because we defined that all fields should be required. So let's disable our button if our form is invalid, like this. So form.invalid, and let's save. Let's go back to application, and we see that button is disabled. Everything is fine. All right, and here we have to add our handler on the click. So once we click on the button, we have to add task. So let's copy the method name and create such a method in our app.js file. And all right, and I will use also Apollo for this, but this time I will use mutate method, which does actually mutations, and this not method but object which accepts this method. In this object we should define the mutation, and the way how we define this mutation is very similar how we did it for our get tasks query. So let's define the constant, and then go to our GraphQL, and let's build our mutation. So I will rename it to add task, and I will use this insert, and I want to insert the author ID, I want to insert description and title, and I want to return description, title, user, and ID of the task, right? And you can see that they're predefined like hard-coded values, right? So but we want to have some like variables, right, to not have it hard-coded, because it's should be very dynamic. And let's define the variables in our mutation. So I will add user ID, which has type. Let's have a look which type it has. So let's go to docs, and we can go to mutation root and find here our insert task input, and we can see that author ID has this UI ID type and it's required. So we will use the exclamation mark to do this, and the same we will do for description. For description it's gonna be string, also required, and the title has type name. Okay, let's add the name, also required. And now it complains that we are not using this variable, so we define but not using this. So let's change it and assign these variables here. Then I copy my query and pass it to our file. And alright, mutation is there. The second thing, we have to pass variables, right, to our query. And how we will do this, there is the second parameter which called variables, and in these variables I will use my form and I will get the value, and the value will be actually exactly what I need, because I define this like a title, description, and author ID. So that's exactly what returns this property value in the form, and they should be the same like the variables we defined in our query. Okay, and we in subscribe we can fetch the data. That's data which returns the mutation to us, and let's console log it and see. Yeah, console log it, and let's console log it, and also in case of error we will console log our error somewhere. So let's save it and have a look how it works. So in the title I will add something like task from not client by app. Okay, and in description there will be some description. Now before to click submit, let's open our console and let's see what it returns. And this is our returning, and you can see here our description, our user, and everything is there. We didn't update the view. So how we can do this, actually there are a couple of ways to do this, but I will keep things simple for this tutorial, and I will use the simplest way. We will just refetch the query one more time once the value was added. But actually, if you're interested in more complex things, I could create some video series about Apollo library. So if you are interested, just leave the comments somewhere. So then I have to refactor a little bit my code, and I will create a property called query_ref, which will be reference to our query. Actually, yeah, quite obvious. So that's gonna be type of response, and here I will assign to this property our watch query. Actually, I will copy this there, and okay, I will then start our tasks stream from this query_ref, and there will be listen for the value changes. But then I will use this query_ref and I will call the method called refetch. All right, so that's what I'm going to do, and then this refetch will just call one more time our get tasks query, and the whole queries, including our new one, will be rendered in our application. So as easy as that. And let's check. So I will add the new title. It should be reloaded, and some some description, and then I will press submit, and you see that our UI was updated and everything works fine. The one thing we have to do is to actually reset our form controls from the title and for description, right? For author ID we should not reset it because we need it always. And I will remove this data because I'm not using this. All right, and the last cherry on the top, I will add the styles for main container as well, and it's gonna be the same like for content, so we have some space in the edges. And yeah, so let's do final check. Hello from Hasura, something else, submit, and we can see that everything works fine and our application has behavior as we expect. The last thing I want to mention that you could see that we manually define the interfaces for every our call. And it's quite annoying to do this for every call, and in the next video I will show you how we can automatically generate the interfaces for our queries. Okay, that was it for today. I hope the information from this video was useful for you, and in the future I'm going to create a few more videos where I will show you how to automatically generate interfaces for your queries. Then we will have a look at the authentication with Hasura. Probably I will create a video about database migrations with this GraphQL engine and many more. So subscribe to my channel and leave in comment section your proposals, what you would like to know about Hasura, and I would be happy to create a video for you about these particular topics. And yeah, that's it for today, and as always, thank you for attention and see you in the future.